Good afternoon. Well, good noon. I guess it is just right at noon. Anyway, welcome to Midweek Musings here at Trinity Heights United Methodist Church. I'm Kent Little, Senior Pastor. It's good to have you with us. Actually, I'm not at Trinity Heights United Methodist Church right now. I'm at home. There was a number of things going on at the church, and can't always, some days I can't always find a quiet place to do these. Anyway, so today, since there were extra things happening at the church, I thought, well, I'll just head home for lunch and get a bite to eat, and while I'm doing that, I'll do my midweek musing. So, welcome to my home. Anyway, so as I said, as I always said, a lot of things happening at Trinity Heights. This week in particular, tonight is our longest night service at 6:30. Some of you may be more familiar with it being called the Blue Christmas service. It's just, and I think I explained this last week too, and I explained it Sunday morning. It's a service designed to acknowledge that sometimes the holidays can be difficult, especially if we have experienced loss in some way, loss of loved ones due to death, loss of our health, loss of relationships, broken relationships, loss of finances, just loss of pets, those things that cause us grief and worry and anxiety. Sometimes the holidays can just amplify that when we're missing something or missing someone. And so it's a service designed to gather together and to say, if you're not always feeling particularly joyful this time of year, that's okay. I think at least I've gone through that and go through that periodically. I suppose I shouldn't paint a broad brushstroke and say everyone does now and then, but I think it is common. And I think it's important for us to know, especially as a community of faith, that does happen, and it's okay, and to reemphasize and to reinforce that you're not alone. You don't have to go through this alone, that there are others who often struggle this time of year. And so it's just an opportunity to gather together at the church tonight at 6:30, and to acknowledge the grief, to acknowledge the struggle, to acknowledge the joy and the gratitude we have as well, and to seek a little light in whatever darkness we may be feeling at the time. So if that sounds like a service that might resonate with you, I invite you to be a part of that tonight at 6:30, or if you just want to be present to show support for those who may be having a difficult time this year. 6:30 in the sanctuary, and then afterwards we'll have for those who wish, we'll have some refreshments and time to just visit and lend one another support and care through these holidays. And then Sunday, this coming Sunday, which is also Christmas Eve, as you know, Sunday morning we're going to have just one service at 10 o'clock in the sanctuary. And then Sunday evening, we will still have our Christmas Eve candlelight and communion service at 6:30 as well, and just one service. So we'll have a 10 o'clock in the morning service, and then 6:30 in the evening for our Christmas Eve candlelight service. So hope you can take those in if you're not traveling too far, or if you're not traveling at all. Hope you take Christmas Eve services in. It's one of my many favorite times to gather together as a community of faith, and to celebrate the holiday, to celebrate the coming of the Christ child again and again in our lives and in our hearts. So I hope you take that in. So and then as you know, maybe you know, New Year's Eve is also on a Sunday this year, and so we're going to have just one service again on New Year's Eve, January 31st, on Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. So we're just going to have one service, so don't forget that. So then January will be filled with continuing to look forward into the future. I think Trinity Heights has a bright future. We have a lot going for us, and a lot happening, and we'll begin looking forward in terms of how we might enhance and continue to deepen our journey with the divine and with one another and our community and world. So I'm looking forward to not only Christmas, but to the first of the year as we begin to journey into 2024. So anyway, that's it. Lots of things happening. We will start up our Welcome on Wednesdays, our WOW with the meal and children's program on January 17th, I believe it is. It's the middle of the month on the Wednesday. I think it's the 17th. And we'll resume my theology matter discussion class. And so anyway, we'll kind of get back going after the holidays, and anxious to get that going again. So anyway, thanks for being here. So this coming Sunday, as I just mentioned, Christmas Eve morning worship will continue our looking at Mary and walking through the journey with her and her Magnificat. This coming Sunday morning, the theme, it'll be filled with the Spirit, which is part of her Magnificat, and we'll talk a little bit about what that might mean, what that looks like, if we can know. Sometimes we don't know. But anyway, we'll look at it through the lens of the Magnificat and maybe talk a little bit about what Mary meant in her time and what that might mean for us as well. Sunday evening at the Christmas Eve candlelight service, of course, there'll be lots of, it's kind of a combination of the lessons and carols, if you're familiar with that, on Christmas Eve, where we read a scripture and then we'll sing a Christmas song and read a scripture anyway. And then I'll have a meditation around the journey. That not only that journey from to Bethlehem by Mary and Joseph, but our own journeys and what that journey that we celebrate might have to say to us on our own journeys and journey of life and faith, and what we might take with us, and what we sometimes what we have to leave behind, and those kind of things. So that'll kind of be the theme for Sunday. So for this midweek musings, I was thinking about Christmas, of course, and there are so many traditions, and though I don't speak of them as rituals specifically, we have lots of rituals that we as families, we as individuals, we as Christians practice in preparation for and in celebration of Christmas Day. The other night, Trudy and I were watching the show A Christmas Story. It's one of my favorite Christmas movies, and so I think this was at least the second time we've watched it this season, maybe the third. I'm not sure. Anyway, so at the end of the movie, when Ralphie gets his favorite Christmas present. Trudy asked me, she said, what was your favorite Christmas present you ever got when you were a kid? And I told her at the time, I remember one time I was probably in the, I suppose, third or fourth grade-ish. And I remember Mom and Dad setting us down in preparation for Christmas and just sharing with us that things were a little lean that year. So Christmas may not be as big a thing as it, and our Christmases were usually pretty simple anyway, but that there probably weren't going to be a whole lot of gifts, but there would be some, but just not, not to have our hopes up too high. And I'm sure, and I told her, I said, I'm sure I made lists like any kid does, and but I don't remember what was on my list that year, let alone any year for that matter. But anyway, and so I just remember, and then Christmas morning, Santa had brought us, and I confess I don't remember what my sister got that year, but I do remember my brother and I both got new bicycles. And if I recall correctly, I mean, I don't really remember that much, but that was about all we got. Well, I'm sure we got socks and underwear. Moms always give us socks and underwear when we're little for Christmas. But anyway, we got new bicycles, and that was just I was ecstatic. That was probably one of my favorite memories. Anyway, and but then as I was pondering that this morning, one other memory came to me is when my dad, before he went in the ministry, we lived in Douglas, Kansas, and he had a little drugstore, a little sundry store, and I can remember, I wouldn't have been very old, pre-kindergarten, but I can remember going to the store sometimes and sitting on the floor, and there was a little metal pickup truck. It had a blue cab and a yellow bed, if I remember right. Anyway, I would sit on the floor and I'd play with that pickup truck. And I remember we had all gathered at my grandma and grandpa's for Christmas and exchanging gifts, etc. And after we were all done, I remember my dad saying something that he needed to go somewhere and he'd be right back. And he left. And when he came back, he had that pickup truck for me. And so that's a memory. And that may be one of those, my disclaimer that I often use is, I'm not sure this story happened exactly this way, but I know this story is true. So anyway, because that's a memory from, like I said, I would have been pre-kindergarten, so I wouldn't have been very old, but that memory sticks with me. So anyways, and then of course the rituals with Christmas that happen. I remember growing up, we would get up on Christmas morning, and the first thing we did was we had breakfast. And Mom always, at Christmas time, she always made date nut bread, which is still one of my favorite, what you want to call it, sweet breads, or anyway, date nut bread. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with that. It's only good with way too much butter on it, which isn't good for me, so I don't eat it much anymore. But anyway, Mom would make date nut bread but she would make a special one for Christmas morning, and it was a round loaf, and she would put a birthday candle in the middle of it and light it, and we would sit around the table, we would sing happy birthday to Jesus, and then the dishes had to be done, and then we would open the tree. And that comes from, I guess, when my dad was growing up, and so he carried that on tradition. So when we would get up on Christmas morning, the gifts that were from like Mom and Dad or from one of us to one of our siblings, those were all wrapped. And then gifts that Santa brought in the night were not wrapped, and our stockings were filled, etc. Well, but when we would get up on Christmas Day morning, the tree, well, all the gifts, not the whole tree, but all of the gifts were covered with a sheet. You couldn't see anything other than the tree. And so anyway, so after we got breakfast, after we got the dishes and everything, then we got to open the tree. Anyway, so that was always a tradition when I was growing up. I didn't carry that tradition on, other than Trudy and I, for the boys, we didn't wrap gifts from Santa either. And so anyway, so that's a tradition or a ritual, and I'm sure, and every family is so different. You have special things that you do on Christmas morning that kind of binds the family together, traditions that you carry on, or you start new ones. And so I encourage you to ponder that a little bit this week, and before as we move through the rest of this week into Christmas Eve, and then next Monday on Christmas morning. What are the traditions? What are the rituals that you remember as a young child, and what things have you changed, etc.? I've said here, I about forgot one of my favorite ones. Trudy, I get to brag on Trudy just for a minute here. She's very crafty, and creative. Anyway, so one of the traditions in our house that just kind of grew. I'm not sure exactly how it happened, but she made special ornaments for our trees. I'm gonna try to show this to you. Where's the camera? So thankfully it's a little blurry. This is a Christmas ornament that she made out of microscope slides, and then she soldered around the edges to keep them together. Anyway, this is a picture of Trudy and I when we got married, which I thought that was an appropriate one. We just celebrated our 45th anniversary on December the 10th. So anyway, but we have a lot of these that hang on our tree, and there's like these. We have, of course, some of the boys when they were little, of our pets, the pets that we've lost. And then, of course, pictures of her folks and my folks, and pictures of her and I both when we were little, and my siblings, my brother and sister and her sisters, etc. Just, what you want to call it, memorabilia, or just gives an opportunity to reminisce about the past and those we miss this time of year. Anyway, and so I'm not sure where the tradition started. Somehow, after the tree is all decorated, these are usually the last ornaments we put on the tree, and I say we. Somehow, I ended up being the one that always put those on. I probably just took that on myself, because I'm kind of a sentimental slob. Anyway, and so my job is to put these ornaments on the tree, and I hang them on, and the tears flow, and anyway, and they're not just tears of grief, of loss, but they're tears of joy and excuse me, and gratitude for those who have affected me and loved me through the years and continue to. So anyway, that's just another ritual, and it's a meaningful one to me, to be able to hang these each year on the tree, and to celebrate those who have had a hand in raising me in one way or another. I think it's a Buddhist saying that says we are the culmination of every experience and encounter we have had up into this moment. And I think that's an important part of tradition, to carrying on traditions, that we remember those things that have helped shape us as we've moved through our journey of life and faith, and the traditions that we carry on, that shape, like Trudy and I's traditions that we have with our family, that helped shape our children and our grandchildren and those we encounter and experience. So anyway, it's something to ponder, or at least it is for me this time of year. So anyway, I've probably rambled on enough. This is kind of an extended midweek music for some reason, I guess. I've probably rambled on long enough, and you probably need to get back to what you're doing. Anyway, mostly, thank you for joining me. I'm glad you're here. I hope, if I don't see you between now and Christmas, I hope I see a number of you, of course, at our services, but I hope and pray you have a joy-filled, a gratitude-filled, and a blessed Christmas time together, and Merry Christmas. Thank you for being here, and continue to strive toward peace, and to be a light, and to love one another, every single other, until there are no others, only one beloved community of all. May it be so. May it be so. Thank you for being here. Have a great day. It's a beautiful day outside. Have a great day. Goodbye, and God bless.